Hey everybody, good morning. It's 6:30 in the morning on Tuesday. Stephanie and I are here with you 6:30 a.m. Central Time. It's the Change Nerd Show, it's episode 3. Today we're talking about the power of choice. But before we get into the content, I want to let you all know a little bit about the Change Nerd community. Our mission is really to drive diversity of thought and empowerment to professionals focused on enterprise work. We have an online learning community. We have learning channels, the future of work and global work and culture. So jump into the ChangeNerd community. It's totally free. So Stephanie, today we are talking about the power of choice. Such a great topic because we're still at the beginning of 2020. Why is this so important right now?
Yeah, the greatest thing about choice is when you think about the actual definition of it. Really, it's when you're presented or you have two opportunities that you have to select, right? So that's a choice. So you might have two, three, four, etc. But think about the power in that, right? It's either you choose A or you choose B or you choose some combination of that. So we talked in previous Change Nerd episodes about, sort of guiding yourself through your own professional development career path. We've talked, in other web episodes about, how do we become the best version of ourselves? And all that is just selecting one choice or selecting little mini choices along the way, taking baby steps to get to that large scale sort of change down the line. So huge power in that. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Sliding Doors
No.
with Gwyneth Paltrow. It is one of the most incredible movies. It's not that she chose not to go through the subway doors, essentially, but the plot is she misses the train. And the whole movie then diverges. And essentially it's the doors open, she goes through them, she meets, or she gets on the train. And then her whole life is different based on just that one small little incident. Then her life obviously is completely different when she doesn't miss the train, or she does miss the train. So long story short, why that's relevant is that when you make a choice, right, it's usually in a long-term sort of alignment with where you want to go for your future. So let's talk about choice a little bit today.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So we talked. This is not going to be a long episode. Let's hit it from two sides and let's give the people some references, right? So the first one, how do you create choice criteria as an individual? So
Yeah.
let's go into that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So we just talked about giving references. If you have not picked up this book yet, most of us, or hopefully most of us, have read this book called Nudge. It's all around designing your environment to really create some choice architecture. All right, so one of my favorites is really talking about the default mode. And what that really refers to is if you're going to make a choice, it's set as a default. So for example, every morning I have my default alarm set for 6 o'clock a.m. That is like my default. So if I ever need to go back and do something different, or I need to wake up at a later or earlier time, I'm able to go back and do it. But I know for me, waking up at 6 a.m., that's going to be my choice habits. I'm able to work out. I'm able to get in everything that I need to do before I go to work. So really creating your default as the choice architecture in an environment that's going to really help you be successful.
If you're thinking about choice within a work environment, how do you create choice as a technique?
Yeah, for change makers especially, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, we all as change makers are asking people to do something differently than they were before, right? And, I know one of our webcast guests was talking about moving from, change and sort of this resistance mindset to people readiness. I think choice can really be a powerful technique and tool to allow people to actually get to readiness. So a couple of examples, or an example that I've used before is, the lottery research study. I don't know if you've heard of it, but they gave group A and group B essentially choice or not a choice over their lottery numbers. And group A that had choice over their lottery numbers essentially were happier. And they're like, oh, you know what? I just chose the wrong numbers at the end. Totally fine. Even though they were essentially randomized. Group B did not have choice over their numbers and they were handed a ticket from the lottery. And when they didn't win, they blamed the other individual to say, hey, you gave me these bunk numbers, I should have been able to choose. Now, we know how the lottery works, right? It's not as architected as a lot of our changes, and ours hope to be a little bit more successful than the odds of winning the lottery. But when you're thinking about making large scale changes, really dive into your change plans, really dive into the people behaviors and figure out where you can allow people to have control over choice. where are you thinking about the outcomes, right? Like, what's the outcome of your change that you're trying to get to? And try to think of 1 to 2 to 3 different options that individuals can link into so that they're able to choose option 1, 2, or 3. And every single one of them is correct, directly correct for where you want to go from a change perspective.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this concludes our show today. We hope that you were able to pull away some nuggets so that you can leverage the power of choice. Stephanie, thank you for dropping so much insight on today's episode. And for those of you watching this episode, jump into the ChangeNerd community. We would love to have you. Talk to you soon. See you next week.
See you next week.
This is going to be like done. You ready?
That you actually, it's designing. Let me rewind.
You ready?
Yeah, I hope this might be a little rough because my.
Now we're going to do this. You ready? 2 minutes.
All right. Okay.